If you'd like to see more interviews here with former, maybe even current or future wrestling superstars, let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. Thank you very much and let's get started. Today I am thrilled to welcome a very special guest for an exciting interview. Former WCW superstar and current owner of New European Championship Wrestling, Alex Wright, das Wunderkind. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
For all those who may be younger viewers on this channel, who are you exactly and how did your story begin and what have you done?
Well, this answer might take a while.
No problem.
My name is Alex Wright and I'm a second-generation wrestler. My father, Steve Wright, wrestled very successfully and internationally for over 26 years. He wrestled for New Japan, major Mexican promotions, and Stu Hart in Canada, the father of Owen and Bret Hart, before WWF monopolized wrestling. My father wrestled all over Europe and Asia, and I grew up on the road with him. I was always close to the ring, either in a caravan, in nearby hotels, or sometimes even in a tent. The wrestling ring was my playground. As soon as I was old enough, as we say in Frankenaya, to start roughhousing, I'd tell my dad that I wanted in. We started regularly going into the ring together. I was crawling in there as a baby. It was just normal life for me. Over time, my playing around in the ring became training in a natural progression. But it was never my dad pushing me to be a wrestler. He always gave me the freedom to choose my path. I just always knew I wanted to be a wrestler. There was never anything else. So it never felt like training to me, even though my father was a very tough coach. There was no saying no or I can't do it. He'd just say, get on with it. So I trained a lot with my dad. Coming from one of the few European wrestling families, I had a strong foundation. My father was a 16-time middleweight world champion with the CWA, Catch Wrestling Association, a European, mostly German-Austrian promotion. It was the biggest one at the time, just to give you an idea. When I started in 1994, for example, they sold out the Bremen City Arena, which holds around 10,000 to 12,000 people, without even a TV deal. Wrestling there gave me a lot of experience, with matches nearly every night. I wanted to be a wrestler, but my father always said, make sure you have something else to fall back on. So I trained as an insurance salesman, which I didn't exactly enjoy. Looking back, though, it's been helpful. I learned a lot that I can use in office work and similar things. But as a 16-year-old, it wasn't my dream job.
Not exactly what you envisioned, right?
Right. Anyway, I had my first pro match with CWA at 16. I was really nervous. I wanted to perform well and make my father proud. The expectations were high, as my dad had such a big name in the sport. He'd wrestled with guys like Inoki in New Japan. Inoki was a legend, like Hulk Hogan in the US. And in Europe, he was well respected too. Those were big shoes to fill, and it didn't all come naturally at first. I was still learning. But it was good enough that people said it was great and everything was as expected. My father was pleased too. That first match made me realize even more that I wanted to continue wrestling. For me, it was never about the money, it was always about the lifestyle, living this life 24/7, traveling, training, entertaining crowds. While I was training as an insurance salesman, I still wrestled regularly on weekends and did amateur matches, including in amateur wrestling. I admit I skipped work and then to go to have matches.
The life of a dedicated wrestler?
Exactly, that's my thing. That's how I got into wrestling. Then at 16, as I said, I had my first match, making me one of Europe's youngest wrestlers and Germany's youngest. This brought a lot of media attention, with appearances on TV shows, radio shows, newspapers, and more. After finishing my training, I signed a contract with CWA, a highly sought-after contract with a major European league. My family bought a small trailer, and we even started our first tours. Then I was invited to Schreinermakers Live, a top talk show at the time, similar to Marcus Lanz today. It wasn't just political, it covered all kinds of topics and had 1 million of viewers. That was actually my second time on the show. The first time I was 16, the second, nearly 18. WCW was also there, represented by Johnny B. Bad and Sting. As the topic was wrestling, I got to talk with them backstage and met their PR manager, who invited me to Munich since WCW was touring in Germany at the time. I thought it was an amazing opportunity. My dad, being an old pro in the business, told me, "Son, you never know what'll happen. Take your wrestling gear with you, just in case." So I did. My father had always taught me respect for the trainers, veterans, colleagues, promoters, and, of course, the fans because, without them, there's no show and no money. He also taught me to respect family values, naturally. So I followed his advice. We went backstage, and the first thing I was asked was if I had my gear because a WCW wrestler was injured. Naturally, I jumped at the chance. My first match was against Paul Roma, and it went very well. Ric Flair was the booker at the time, and they asked if I wanted to finish the tour with them. I couldn't say no.
Yes, chance of a lifetime, for sure.
Absolutely. At the end of the tour, Ric Flair called me to his hotel room, and surprisingly, Eric Bischoff was there too. They offered me a contract. I had a week to decide, which was difficult because, at 18, I was still underage in the US, had a contract with a big league in Europe, and was already engaged. After talking with the CWA, they agreed to let me out of the contract, not wanting to stand in my way. I am grateful for that to this day. I also sorted out things with my fiancée. And within a week, I packed up and moved to the US on my own.
Wow. Now it's your turn. Leave your questions in the comments down below and check out the links in the description. Support the channel's independent work by giving this video a thumbs up or becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching and see you next time.